Okay, so this is part 3 of accessible reading formats, and it'll be about audiobooks. So, I guess also known as this, what's it called? Spoken audio. I guess apparently I didn't know that term before until I did research, but apparently it is.
These are audiobooks that are read by the person as opposed to read by your device.
Yeah, right. So that's a good point actually. So like, as the ebooks in the previous one, it was all done by like the little crazy robot voice going on in my phone. As our audiobooks, like you said, are all by, I'm assuming they're actors. Usually, yeah, right. And like the one thing also I noticed about audiobooks, maybe not all audiobooks, but at least all the ones I've read and had experience with, is that it's usually just one person doing all the different voices for the characters, which can at times be very entertaining. So yeah, spoken audio has, or so they say, it's been around since the 1930s. It's kind of been around.
It's kind of like radio plays,
right? Yeah, and it's like, and that's like radio plays, like part of the history, right? It evolved into this. Well, not like, you know what I mean. Like it kind of, this is a branch of it in a way, right? Yeah. So another thing that I knew about, but thought was kind of cool to read about, is like spoken audio was kind of like, it was done on they called spoken word albums, so like records, right?
Yeah.
And then so it went from like spoken word or like audiobooks on albums to cassette tapes, and then to CDs, and then to the digital format. So I thought that kind of progression from like albums to cassette tapes to CDs to digital was kind of a fun kind of progression. The cool thing I found out too is a lot of the, like, with the albums and cassettes, like the earlier versions of audiobooks, a lot of it was poetry and plays, so not necessarily a full novel, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting to find out. And the cool thing about that is, like, at first it was kind of more directed towards poems and plays, but around like the 1980s was when book retailers became interested in that audio book medium, right? So that's when around that time is when audiobooks started to become an actual thing, where the full novel would be converted to audio, versus just some poems and plays, where typically not necessarily plays, but poems are quite a bit shorter, right? So of course that would have been easier for them to turn into audio, like versus a book.
Yeah. I think, given the timeline of the 1980s, it probably had a lot to do with cassette tapes.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Right?
You could have a long play format in a physically smaller package.
Right.
It's a lot more portable.
That's true.
Put it in your car.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're driving and you take that.
So then, like I said, I went from like albums to cassette tapes to CDs. So a fun kind of first-hand experience I had with audiobooks and CDs to do with it's called a DAISY player, which DAISY stands for Digital Access Information System, with a Y thrown on the end. No, couldn't tell you why. Like, it kind of, to me, mine was like a big like rectangle box looking thing. There's like a round part where you would that would lift up, and that's where you put the CD in, and then there'd be like buttons for like play and pause and rewind, fast forward. Like that's pretty much all the buttons there were. And then like each book kind of had like I want to say like a 6 CDs in for one book kind of thing. It's like, of course, when the first CD was done, you take that out, replace it with a second one, and on for the whole book, right? So I had one of those. I don't remember what books I read. I only read a few books on it until I became more known to the Kindle. But that was kind of a cool aspect for me to learn how to use audiobooks, because I never needed them before then. So that was like one of my first-hand experiences with, like, after using my site with an audiobook, was that DAISY player. So that was a really fun thing for me. But now, it's finally I know, like, the main format for audiobooks is digital, or like MP3, so they call it. So like it's called like downloadable digital formats, or MP3s is like the fancy professional term for it. So now I will show you how a blind person, how me, just my experience, but this is how I access audiobooks. Okay, so go down to iTunes, iTunes, and then iTunes Media, audiobooks. So I, wonderfully enough, have the Harry Potter book series in audio, which is really fun. So I'm going to plug my earbuds and show you. Hoping that doesn't mind.
Music. Owen Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. N4B.
Okay,
Protected
so
and
this
Owen Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part.
is the first book. Do you remember? I don't remember the name of the first one.
Owen Harry Potter and the Chamber of
Philosopher's
Secrets.
Stone.
N4.
Okay.
Owen Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Owen Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Part. Owen Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Owen Harry Potter and the Philosophers. Owen
Yeah,
Harry
that one.
Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
that
Owen
one.
Harry Potter
Okay.
and the Philosophers.
So I'm not sure exactly where this is going to start because it might start from the beginning or the end. I can't remember. But yeah, let's see.
Open. iTunes. Window.
There we go. I love the tune.
Listening Library presents Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drill.
I think what I love most about the Harry Potter audiobooks is the fact that it's an older British guy reading it, so it really adds to the story in my opinion, and his Hermione voice is just hilarious, so it makes it very, very entertaining. But yeah, and then so it's pretty simple to navigate again to where the audiobooks are stored, so it's like in like well, at least in mine, it's like music folder, then iTunes Media, and then audiobooks, and then you just select which book series, or in mine it's organized by author for some reason. I could rename the file if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just select I just went into like J.K. Rowling, and then it gave me each, I believe, each book is one whole, like I don't think each book is broken up into multiple recordings as far as I understand. I think they're all one, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
As far as mine is set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then yeah, like you simply just like
Potter.
spacebar to play.
Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister.
And then pause. Like it's very, just one button, right? And then you can actually play pause whenever you want. Like,
Yeah.
and again, the nice thing, in my opinion, about audio, is again you can, like you're listening. Whoever, like blind or not, you're just listening to it. So then you can again you kind of multitask and do chores and do other things while you're listening to the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people tend to play them in their car with like their Bluetooth. So then as they're driving to work or wherever they're going, they can listen to audiobooks or something, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways. I feel like people utilize audiobooks. And for me, I just sit there. Like I'm kind of bad, for instance, where I'll play the audiobook instead of getting up and doing stuff. I'll sit there and just keep listening and not be productive in the slightest. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, did you have an example of the graphic audio?
I do, yeah. Graphic audio I feel like it's not as well known or even as well used as ebooks or audio, just because I know they're quite expensive to purchase to begin with, but as well they're a lot, like it's not just one narrator telling the story, it's multiple people in different roles. So like there'd be an actual female actor or actress, playing the female, doing the female voice, right, instead of in Harry Potter where it's an old British man doing a female voice.
Right, so it's more like an audio play. Than
Yeah,
just
right. So a
being
lot
read.
of people explain audio or graphic audio in a lot of senses where it's a movie without the image, like without the visual, right? So again, you'd hear all the different actors' voices. You would hear, like, if there's a car chase in the background, like in the story, you would hear a car chase in the background.
Oh, that's cool.
Or like if you were even some of them, if you're in a loud, like let's say you're in a loud restaurant in the story, then when like it gets to the point, there'd be like the noise of the noisy restaurant in the background. It's like little things like that, which I think is really fun. And again, it just adds like even more to the story, right? Because you get that,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, just like a movie with no visuals. so you get that whole aspect of it with like the extra sound effects, and like even if like the nice thing too is like there's different actors and actresses, so you can like, more clearly get an image of each character.
Yeah, it adds.
Even based off their voice, right? Instead of just like, it's funny, it's an old British man doing Hermione's voice. In graphic audio, it would literally be a female doing Hermione's voice if it was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So
it adds to the experience.
exactly, it definitely adds to audiobook. So in my opinion, ebook is one level up from Braille. Audio is one step up from ebook, and graphic audio is just like even one more step up from audio. Which audio is also like already great, but graphic audio is just something kind of unique in my opinion, and I love that they made it a thing.
Rec music.
So,
6 of 01 Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians.
So this one it's called Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians by Brandon Sanderson, which sounds really kind of weird, like just about the title. So kind of like it seems like an odd book, but the way that he wrote it, it's like the narrator's doing like the breaking the third. What's it called? Fourth wall, breaking the fourth wall. So like at times, so like okay, wait a second, and then he'll explain part of it, like he'll explain himself.
He'll address the audience.
Yeah,
directly.
and he'll address the audience directly and like kind of explain his side of this situation and like that kind of thing. And I think it's so cool. It was such a unique way of writing it to begin with, but listening to it in graphic audio just made it such a unique book for me to read or listen to, I suppose. So okay, I'll show you this graphic audio book.
Open.
Work of fiction.
iTunes.
Nor is my
iTunes.
name really Brandon Sanderson. Both are guises to hide the book from librarian agents. Unfortunately, even with these precautions, I suspect that the librarians will discover the book and ban it. In that case, our Free Kingdom agents will have to
So there's
sneak
already, like,
into
music in the
libraries
background,
and
which is
bookstores to put it on
Nothing,
shelves.
like audiobooks don't normally
Count
have that
yourself
music in the
lucky
background.
if you found one of these secret copies. For you Hushlanders, I know the events of my life may seem wondrous and mysterious, and I will do my best to explain them. But please remember that my purpose is not to entertain you. My purpose is to open your eyes to the truth. I know that in writing this, I shall make few...
Window. Close button.
So like just even the way like this is the way that the narrator is addressing us as the audience already is such a unique way of writing, in my opinion. But the way he just the way that he adds to the story, and like it's a perfect voice for the story in my opinion, just like the old rich guy in Harry Potter. It's gonna find a way, try and fast forward so I can find like the graphic, like the sounds in the background.
does not instantly change the world. Sometimes stories gloss over this fact, for the world would be a much more pleasant place if you could obtain something simply by wanting it badly enough. Unfortunately, this is a real and true story, not a fantasy. I couldn't escape from the prison simply because I wanted to. Yet I would like to note something else at this point. Determination, true determination, is more than simply wanting something to happen. It's wanting something to happen, then finding a realistic way to make certain that what you want to happen, happens. And that happened to be what was happening with the story's current happenings. I ignored the bars, instead laying my palm flat against the stones of the cell floor. They were large, sturdy blocks, plastered together with a smooth mortar. The bars ran directly into holes in the stone. I smiled, then closed my eyes again, focusing. I hadn't often used my talent so intentionally, but I felt that I was gaining some skill with it. I was able to send a wave of power through my arms and into the rocks. I focused harder, sending out an even larger wave of braking power. When I opened my eyes, I found that I was kneeling in dust and chips. The stones beneath my knees reduced entirely to rubble. I stared, a little shocked at just how much of the stone I had broken.
Right, so it takes, like, obviously with graphic audio, it's not every scene has different sounds in the background. It really depends on what's going on in the story. But like this one is a bit more, like, at certain parts of the story, it's a bit more action-packed. So like if they're in a group running, you can hear their footsteps running, and like just how he magically reduced like the ground and bars to like rubble, and you could hear like the sizzle, the crack and stuff, and crumbling stuff, right? So
They add sound effects to certain parts to heighten
Exactly. Especially more like detailed, important parts like that. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Cool.